What is up, everybody? It is Dynamic here, and welcome back to another MLW video. Now, before we get into this video, I will say this video does contain spoilers from Friday's series, the Metro Magic versus the Coastal Cobras. So if you haven't watched that series, I will leave it linked down below. And also, while we're doing some housekeeping stuff, I want to mention that I did start a second channel. And mostly I'm just going to be doing everything that doesn't make it onto this main channel is going to be posted over there. So if you're interested in that, I will also leave a link to that channel down below. Also, we are on the road to 800 subs and we're getting pretty close. So if you guys haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more wiffleball content. And without further ado, let's get into the video. Now, I want to start by talking about this Slate 4 series because I do believe that it was probably the most important series of the year for any team up to this point. Because obviously the Coastal Cobras were trying to stay alive, and if they got swept, they pretty much had no chance, and if they won one game, it would be close to impossible to make the playoffs. But they were able to win 2 games and not look too bad while doing it. Now, you can make the argument that the Metro Magic didn't really have their best team out there, and that is definitely valid. They were missing Brady Pearson, Jack Agner, obviously Grant Miller will not be there for the rest of the season, but the reality of it is that the Coastal Cobras won the series 2-1 regardless of who was playing out there for the Magic. So yes, while the Coastal Cobras probably didn't look that great because they weren't playing against players that were super amazing or anything, the culture that they had that series was definitely something that they can build on, and I thought I saw a lot of great things. Also, it's just a good time for me to point out that I do believe that Drew Davis should win Golden Glove, and honestly, he just completely made his case for it this series. But if they want to give it to someone else, I guess they can, but I just really think it should go to Drew Davis. The Magic in this series, for what they had, didn't look too bad. I think they did a good job of getting on base considering they didn't really have too many hitters. And then obviously RJ Walgate and John Paul Gunn looked pretty decent from the mound. So the Cobras were able to rally with the help of guys like Justin Esch, with the help of guys like Brendan Szerlag, who had 1 hit in the series, and of course Drew Davis, who led the team. Now, guys like Andy Duran and Caden Irwin continue to be unimpressive from the plate in my opinion, but especially with Andy Duran, I'm just kind of waiting for him to turn the corner on that. He had an amazing year a couple of years ago, and I'm kind of waiting for him to get back to that, but if he doesn't, the Cobras still do have Cole Kwiatkowski, so that's just something kind of interesting to look at. Now, while Drew Davis still didn't really pitch a good Game 3, I thought it made sense to put Caden Irwin out there for Game 2, considering he was really hot in the game. So I think Drew Davis made the right decision there. It's just the biggest question is still going to be Drew Davis's pitching, which in my opinion looked a little bit better, but all the fans saying to pitch to contact for Drew Davis, it just doesn't work super well in this league, and I wouldn't recommend it. But I don't know, it's something that they can look at to do if things do get really bad down the line. Now, I want to take some time to think about the possibility of a playoff appearance and a playoff run, and I'm not really going to be diving into how likely it is in this section of the video. I will later in this video, but for this section, I'm really just going to be talking about logistically, is it possible, and if so, what are the ways that they need to do that? So I think the most notable thing from these standings is the fact that there's that 3-way tie right now between the Predators, Diamondbacks, and the Wildcats. So obviously there are some things that are a little bit shaky when it comes to what's going on with that, but right now the Magic are at 500, the Wildcats, Diamondbacks, and Predators are below. So the Cobras don't necessarily need any of those teams to get swept, but if it were to happen, it would be a really, really good thing for the Cobras, because then they just have to outplay one of those teams, preferably both of them, and then just hope one of these teams has a total collapse in the final 2 slates, which isn't the most unrealistic thing, especially if you look at the schedule a little bit deeper. Now, in Slate 5, the Cobras are going to need to beat the Eagles, either 2-1 or preferably a sweep once again, but if they don't, they have no hope, so they need to win that series. Another interesting thing to look at is the Diamondbacks and Predators play in Slate 5, and it could be one of those things where if one of those teams sweep the other team, it could put the Cobras in a really, really good position. Also, the Cobras right now are wishing on the downfall of the Wildcats, who have probably the hardest Slate 4 and Slate 5 schedule against the Gators and the Mallards. And then obviously the Magic, if they do get swept in Slate 5, and the Cobras are able to win 2 games against the Eagles, they have the tiebreaker against the Magic. So the Cobras are actually in a better spot. There's still a ton of work to do for the Cobras. It is not home free. It is not even close yet. I would say their odds are somewhere around 2 to 3% if they lose to the Eagles. And then if they're able to beat them 2 to 1, I'd say it's about 25-30%. And then if they were able to sweep, I would say about 55% for that. So those are just percentages in my head by looking at it, because obviously there's a lot that could still happen, but logistically the Cobras definitely still have a chance. But now let's talk about if they really do have a chance, because yes, we can talk about logistics and stats and possibilities and all of that, but why don't we just look at their roster and say, are they going to win these next games? So how good is the squad playing, and do they realistically have a chance? So what I'm going to say right now isn't going to shock anybody, but Drew Davis pitching is not something that I am confident in, and I think that goes for every MLW fan. I think we're at a point now where they're just too deep into the season to try anyone else. It would probably be worse. And Drew Davis didn't look completely awful this past series. I mean, it wasn't good by any means, but he still showed some signs. Obviously, he is still the hitter. He's still the fielder. He's still a great player. It's just he's not that efficient from the mound. And honestly, it really kills the momentum of the team. So I think it's a good idea to keep him in that game 3. As far as Caden Irwin goes, though, he is by far this team's best player right now because he's so consistent. Well, he doesn't have the bat like Drew Davis. He is super efficient on the mound. He's a smart pitcher, good player, good leader, and I think he is very essential for this team to succeed. So he's going to be there. And it's obviously going to come down to how Justin Esch and how Cole Kwiatkowski are playing, the rookie and the year 2 player, because they are really important for this team. When it comes to guys like Andy Duran, Brendan Szerlag, they're more guys that you guys just need to get on base and feel decent, and yes, we can play you. So for the Cobras, I think they're actually in a pretty decent spot as of right now, but obviously there's things that they still need to work on for sure. And while it was an exciting series to watch, and I bet the Cobras are pretty confident, I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate and bring them down to earth a bit and just say that obviously this Magic team was not very good. They had Curdy coming out for the first time in the entire season, and they had a bunch of young guys playing in and out of state. So there's definitely things that I think kind of prevented the Magic from winning that series, but who knows? It kind of just depends on momentum. This Cobras team is ride or die on their momentum, and that's something that they've had for the last couple years, and hopefully they can continue to impress on. If they were able to even make the playoffs, though, it would be the comeback story of the year. It would be insane. So I don't think it's super likely, but I do think that there is some universe where they go out there and they make it happen. It's just a question of whether it is the reality that we are living in. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for my video today. If you guys like what you saw, make sure to leave a comment about what you think about this Cobras team, about this Magic team right now, and make sure to subscribe. Once again, I'll link my second channel down below in the description. Thank y'all so much for watching, and peace.